Hi, I'm Joni Patrie, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about aspects. This is something I have not gone over in any of my classes here. So aspects are so important. And I tell everyone, this is what is the same when you're either looking at Western tropical astrology or Vedic sidereal astrology. The aspects are always the same. Realize that from the Vedic sidereal chart, all the planets go backwards 23 degrees 40 minutes in the zodiac. But when you're looking at the aspects, they're all going to be the same between the natal planets, regardless if they're back or forward a sign. So the aspects remain the same. Even when we're looking at transits, the transiting planets will be aspecting the natal planets, just like from the tropical Western chart to the Vedic sidereal chart. Because even though you move all the planets backwards 23 degrees 40 minutes, you also move all the transiting planets backwards in the zodiac. So you have the same aspects regardless if you're looking at a tropical Western chart or a Vedic chart. But I want to explain some of the very specific ideas from the natal planets aspects in a chart with Vedic astrology. Because I always used to say, and I still am in agreement with this, Vedic astrology makes the aspects easier. In Western astrology, you have so many and you go backwards and forwards. You don't with Vedic. You only read there's only certain aspects that are 100% in power. Now, yes, all the aspects that we're referring to from Western astrology do apply here. They do. But we only focus on the most important ones that give their effects 100%. We call it a full aspect. And there's not that many of them. It really does simplify these things. Although there are these relationships of the planets always, whether they're forming these aspects that I'm going to be talking about today, or if they're just whatever their relationship, they're always an aspect, in other words. But sometimes they come to a point where they create events, such as we talk about the squares, such as we talk about the trines, such as we talk about the conjunctions and oppositions. We're going to talk about specific, special aspects that Vedic astrology has. And first we're going to look at all the planets. Remember, we are only talking about the planets that are visible to the naked eye, which goes out to Saturn. We're not going to, in other words, we're not talking about the outer planets right now, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So we're going to be talking about the special, and they're called Parashara Vedic aspects that are 100% in power. So all the planets that we're talking to are an aspect by conjunction and opposition. And so that means anytime a planet's in the same sign, it's conjunct. If planets are in opposite signs, they're in opposition. Doesn't matter the orbs. We don't have to sit there and count. Is it 7, 10 degrees in orb? No, the whole signs are an aspect. So much cleaner, so much easier. But I will say this, the tighter the orb, the more potent. So if you have a planet that's at 29 degrees of Gemini and another planet that's at 0 degrees of Gemini, they're still conjunct. Even though they're almost 30 degrees away, but they're in the same sign. But here's the thing. The closer, the more intense. But being in the same sign is a conjunction. Being in the opposing sign is an opposition. That's why in many of the Vedic charts, they don't even put the degrees, because it doesn't matter. They just count from house or sign from each other. So I want to talk about the special aspects. The special aspects being all the planets form conjunction opposition. Let me remind you of that. But Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter, and in my opinion, Rahu and Ketu form special aspects, okay? And so the way that Vedic aspects are counted are always in forward direction. In Western astrology, they can go backwards or forwards, but no, only forward. You can't go backwards. So looking at these aspects, the aspects are actually how planets are connected to each other. So whatever that planetary energy is about, it's connected. So when Jupiter connects, it brings expansion and opportunities. When Saturn's connected, it can cause limitations or seriousness or structure or discipline or setbacks, delays. It's Saturn. So regardless of what the aspect is, it's always the planets that are connecting. That's what the aspects do. So, talking about Mars special aspects, Mars is always aspecting 4 placements from itself and 8 placements from itself. So you would count the house that Mars is in as 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that means 4 placements forward from Mars is where Mars is casting its full effects, its energy. So we're going to look at a chart to prove how this really does manifest and work. So let me give you the special aspects before we start. Saturn's special aspects are 3 and 10. So if you count 3 placements from where Saturn is, 1, 2, 3, counting with the house that Saturn's in, Saturn aspects that house. So it connects to any planets there, and or if there's no planets there, it applies its energy to that house. So 3 houses from itself going forward and 10 houses from itself going forward. That's Saturn's special aspect, aside from the conjunction and opposition. The other planet is Jupiter, and Jupiter casts trines, 5 and 9. That's a trinal aspect. So if you will count 5 placements from where Jupiter is, it's applying its energy to those 2 houses. 5 houses from where it is and 9 houses from where it is. And I also believe that both Rahu and Ketu cast trines just like Jupiter. So you would count 5 houses from Rahu and 9 houses from Rahu, as well as you would count 5 houses from Ketu, as well as 9 houses from Ketu. They apply their energy to those houses and any planets that might be in those houses. So now here's a chart. I want to show you a few of these aspects. Adolf Hitler. I mean, I haven't showed this chart before, but he's something else. Let me just say, one of the most war destructive humans that's ever lived. So let's put his chart up here. He was born March 20th, 1889 at 6:21 p.m. in Austria. So let me just show you his chart. His ascendant is Libra. Oh my goodness, Libras are peaceful. Libras are artistic. By the way, he was an artist. He couldn't make it in art. So he went another direction. But realize, you may not know this about Adolf Hitler, he was a vegetarian and an artist. Go figure. This is one of the most destructive mans ever to kill more people in history. And power hungry. How can he have a Libra ascendant? Look where Venus goes. Venus goes to the 7th house in Aries. Now we're talking. And look, Venus is conjunct Mars in Aries. And then we also have the Sun in Aries. Now this makes more sense. And Mercury. 4 planets in Aries. So we have an exalted Sun with Mars in its own sign. In an angle, a Ruchaka Yoga. This is like a powerful Mars. Mars is off the charts. But remember what I said about Mars special aspects being 4 placements from where it is? Let's count. 7, 8, 9, 10. Mars is in full aspect to the 10th house and Saturn. That's intense. Very tight too, if you notice the orbs, the degrees there. Mars is 24, Saturn is 21. But remember what I said about Saturn's special aspect. 3 and 10. Well, Saturn is aspecting 1, 2, 3, the 12th house. But remember, it's also its 10th aspect. Count from Saturn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's the other full-bodied aspect. So Saturn is aspecting all those planets in the 7th house. It's connected to all of them. But the reason why I wanted to show you this chart is that through Mars' special aspect, it's aspecting Saturn, and through Saturn's special aspect, it's aspecting Mars. So it's like they're conjunct or opposed. They are intensely influencing each other from the 10th and the 7th house. By the way, people that have very powerful 7th houses, they deal with getting other people to do their dirty business many times. They have people that help them, partners. Joseph Mengele, who was one of the scientists that did so many disgusting experiments and killed so many people, was one of Hitler's right-hand people. This is his 7th house for partners. And if you look at Jupiter's special aspect, Jupiter cast trines, which are 5 placements and 9 placements from where it's located. So if you go to Jupiter, count 5 houses away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Jupiter is aspecting all of those 7th house planets. So you have both Mars and Jupiter casting their ray, their light to all those planets in the 7th house. Saturn gives opportunities. Saturn does not give opportunities. Saturn gives discipline and focus to get the job done, while Jupiter gives the opportunities. So you can see that. Plus, Jupiter is with Ketu. Therefore, Ketu is casting its light and its rays to those planets in the 7th house. So you can see how all these planets are like sending their energy and connecting to each other, making things happen. So Jupiter's special aspects, it's also by its 9th aspect, aspecting the 11th house. No planets are there, but it's still sending its light and energy. This is the house of gains. When we look at Rahu's special aspect are 5 and 9 as well. So Rahu is aspecting the 1st house, and Rahu is aspecting the 5th house. So you can see how they cast their energy. And one more thing I might add that's a little tidbit of valuable information. Whenever a planet aspects a house, remember through their special aspects or a conjunction or an opposition, whenever a planet aspects a house that it rules, it empowers that house for whatever that house is good for. And some of the houses are not always good. It could be, the 8th house could be death and problems. The 12th house could be losses. But the good houses can be accentuated all the more, such as, here is one, Mars special aspects. I know we looked at the 4th aspect, which it's aspecting Saturn in the 10th house, and Saturn-Mars, through their special aspects, are mutually aspecting each other. But the 8th special aspect of Mars we didn't look at. Let's count from Mars 8 placements, starting in the 7th house. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Mars is aspecting the 2nd house by its 8th aspect. So it is casting its energy to the 2nd. The 2nd house is Scorpio, ruled by Mars. So therefore Mars is aspecting a house that it rules. So it will bring forth 2nd house matters in a powerful way. 2nd house deals with making money. This man knew how to make money. I know we talk about, what he did in terms of destruction, but he couldn't get into power doing what he's doing unless he had the capacity to believe in himself and make money. And that's a second house. Mars is aspecting it and it rules it. Okay, so I think you got my drift talking about aspects. So there is more to come talking about this special aspect class, which we can call it Drishti. Drishti means to glance. Drishti is the way planets are aspecting one another. So with that, I'd like to close. I hope you've gleaned some very deep insights as to how the planets are connected through the power of Drishti aspects. And with that, I'd like to close. If you would like to learn more about me or you would like a reading, you can always go to my website, which is galacticcenter.org. Or if you would like to learn Vedic astrology, take your studies deeper, I have a university where you can acquire a certification. Go to my university website, universityofvedicastrology.com. Thank you.